Hi, this is David Davis from VMware Videos and Train Signal, and I'm glad to be here with Justin Lauer from Tintri. How you doing, Justin?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good. So we're at the Chicago vForum, big VMware regional event, and Justin is a former V specialist over at EMC, and also a current vExpert.
Correct.
And recently you moved over to Tintri.
Yep.
Which I'm still learning to say. It's Tintri.
Tintri. It actually means lightning in Gaelic. Our founder, Kieran Hardy, is Irish. Kieran was the former VP of R&D at VMware from '99 to 2006, and he founded the company and chose Tintri, meaning lightning, to kind of represent our performance in the VMware storage space.
Okay, very cool. So how do you spell?
Tintri.
Tintri.
Yes.
.com.
.com.
.com. Okay. Cool. Cool. So Tintri is a storage in the storage market.
Yeah. Essentially, we are a 4U virtual storage appliance, storage specifically for virtual machines. We are not a multi-purpose storage vendor, so essentially, our niche right now is the VMware hypervisor.
Okay. So it's a virtualization, a special virtualization built storage appliance.
Correct. The best way to describe it is we essentially wrote a file system from the ground up that recognizes hypervisors. In this case, the first one we support is vSphere. So the benefit that we're getting is that our file system, our storage appliance, will recognize what a virtual machine is. As soon as you drop a VM on it, we are smart enough to know that it's a virtual machine, and it ends up giving you per VM management and reporting all the way down into the vDisk level, which is something that a lot of the multi-purpose vendors struggle with. They're kind of stuck at the LUN level doing management and things like that. Because of our hypervisor or VMware Aware capability, we give that the same level of management you'd get at vCenter at the VM level, we can do at our storage level on the back end.
Okay, so I'm still kind of trying to picture this. So you've got your own file system underneath, and you've got the VMFS on top?
So no, actually we are NFS mounted, so either 1 or 10 gig.
Okay.
Connect just as a data store. Essentially, a Tintri appliance is a data store appliance.
To vSphere, it's an NFS data store.
It is an NFS data store.
Okay.
We're an 8.5 terabyte usable data store with 50,000 IOPS for that appliance. Essentially, you can think of it as flash level performance for all 8.5 terabytes.
Wow. So it has flash, it has SSD, disk, and spindles.
It's a hybrid disk system, so essentially there's 9 SSDs and 15 SATA drives. It's all seen as one block, one data store of storage. We're essentially presenting that out via NFS, either 1 or 10 gig, and just allowing users to dump VMs on it. And the system works. One of the two pieces of intellectual property that are really the value prop here. One I mentioned being the hypervisor aware file system. The second one is actually how we use flash. It's based on inline deduplication and compression. What's interesting is many of the other vendors in the multi-purpose vendor space who have dedupe are doing post-process dedupe, and they're deduping for capacity savings. Our methodology around dedupe is inline compression and dedupe, and it's really to maximize the use of that flash that's there as part of the system.
So what are the spindles for? If you've got the flash.
So the spindles essentially get us to that 8.5 terabyte usable capacity.
Okay.
But because we're in line, everything hits flash first. So we do today everything at a 4K level. So if you're a 4K piece of data, you technically can't even get down to SATA without living in flash first. So on ingest, all the data will stay in flash, and our algorithms work on a least frequently used basis. So on a least frequently used basis, data will get moved down to SATA, but only if there's a capacity constraint on the flash. If the flash still has room with our dedupe and compression, we'll continue to keep the workload of that VM in the flash tier. Only when we start filling that up will data end up down on the SATA partition. Okay.
So it's redundant. It has redundant paths.
So it's essentially seen as one big data store, one pool of storage, for lack of a better term. Under the covers, we do have redundancy. It's RAID 6. There's hot spares for both SSD and spinning disk.
So the admin doesn't have to worry about like partitioning LUNs?
No, so what's great is traditionally you are given a set of disks as an admin. It's up to you to determine a RAID level. Once you do that, you carve out a LUN. You zone and mask that LUN and present it to your ESX cluster. You format it VMFS, and then you're ready to provision your first VM. With us, you literally plug it into your network. It's NFS. You connect it, you mount it to your ESX cluster, and you've got a data store. There's no LUN carving, zoning and masking, and VMFS formatting.
Okay. I mean, and I've worked with like vSphere Performance and tried to get information on virtual disk statistics, with manual command line and stuff, and it's a real pain. So through your web interface, you're able to give that sort of statistical performance?
Definitely. So part of the benefit of this hypervisor-aware file system is per VM granularity and correlation, and all the way down into the vDisk level. We can actually see if you're a virtual machine with 3 vDisks and a VM swap file, we'll see all of those, and we'll even be able to feed back I/O, throughput, latency on that individual basis. So yes, definitely it's a step above the ESX top and the vSCSI stats that are more real time.
Yeah.
We'll give you the historical data and we'll basically correlate all the way down to the vDisk level those performance statistics.
So what's the best use case for the Tintri SAN appliance or storage appliance?
Good question. We are virtualization only today, so we do not support physical workloads. We are purpose-built for virtual machines. I would say where we're seeing the most traction is VDI due to the high performance needs that VDI deployments are needing. Test and dev, we've also seen a lot of traction around test and dev to finally give that performance that they normally would need in the real world to the test and dev people, but to also correlate what's actually happening in the test and dev, to give back to the test and dev people the I/O, the throughput that their apps are actually demanding. Any high-performant VM, environment is really where we're seeing a lot of traction because our price per VM, our dollar per I/O, our dollar per VM story is very, very attractive.
Okay. So even if you weren't doing VDI, if you were just say creating a new virtual infrastructure,
definitely,
it would be a good solution.
Yep. We're saying basically on one 4U appliance, we are targeting about 200 server VMs or 500 to 600 VDI VMs.
Wow.
And the scaling is pretty much linear, right? If you needed 1,000 VDI VMs, you would drop in 2 Tintri appliances.
Okay. So you manage it through a web interface.
Correct. And we do have a plug-in to vSphere. So essentially you would, in vSphere, if you have the plugin running, you'd click on a data store and the Tintri tab would pop up to the far right-hand side. You'd click on that and you'd be in our web interface.
Okay, very cool. Well, it sounds really amazing. I'm going to have to check it out myself.
Thank you. Excellent.
Spell out the website again for me.
www.tintri.com.
TRI.com. Okay. Well, awesome, Justin. I appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.